Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the latest from the live radar, then we'll have a look at the GFS, the GEM, the ECMWF, the UK Met Office Run, and we'll finish up with the GFS Ensembles and the UK Met Office 5-day precipitation and temperature charts. It is looking like we're going to be seeing some very stormy weather potentially over the next 7 days. Now, yesterday's video we did see how the westerly winds were going to win out, the jet stream was going to power up, the stratospheric and tropospheric pod vortex were going to couple, and we're going to be seeing some very deep lows over Greenland to Iceland. I did say some of these sort of daughter low systems that are developing along the jet stream underneath these big, the center of the lows towards Greenland and Iceland could become troublesome. And we're starting to see in the model output today, we could be seeing some major named storms once again next week. So I'll have a look at that in more detail in this video. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. And remember to follow on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. So at the moment, we do have generally low pressure in control. As you can see by the live radar, we have quite a bit of showers around. We have some heavier rain in the south, which is slowly moving east, which shouldn't be too much in terms of impact. Basically, the heaviest rain will be along the south coast, maybe coming as far north as the M4 line through London, but it should clear through this evening. Some patchy showers further northwards, but nothing too major, and we have another sort of weather front moving into Scotland. Bit of snow over the highest peaks, and that snow level will drop as colder air is going to be digging behind it over the next couple of days, as we do have another shot of colder air over the next few days into the weekend, and there is the potential for seeing some snowfall through Monday, Tuesday, or even Wednesday next week, as we see these weather fronts bump into the colder air. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of these storms we're looking at next week actually is quite wintry for some. It is looking pretty exclusively over the higher ground. However, you can't rule out some snow to low-lying areas like we saw with Storm Arwen, where majority of the heavy snowfall was over higher ground, but many low-lying areas did see some falling snow, and some areas where we saw those snow bands move through with their sort of highest precipitation rates. That's where we also saw some precipitation or snowfall to low-lying areas. We can't rule that out next week, and we'll have a look at that in more detail at the end of the video with the UK Met Office Run. So if we do have a look through the latest GFS, you can see low pressure is moving through at the moment. We've got a small little system in the south, which is producing that rain in the south, and we generally have westerly winds. It's going to become more of a northwesterly into northerly wind by early hours of Sunday, and we're going to see colder air digging behind it. Now this does turn things a bit chillier, and then we see something very interesting happen. We see a low pressure develop through Monday, cold air ahead of it, cold air behind it, and has a wedge of milder air, which is fueling the low. Now, what happens to this wedge of milder air is really going to control the type of precipitation that comes out of the sky. When we have a look at the UKMS front at the end of the video, you'll see that there is some snow on the leading edge. Now, we had a similar scenario actually last night where we did see some snow on the leading edge of that low pressure system. It was mainly wet snow falling out the sky, even to low-lying areas. Didn't see any significant accumulations, maybe of a higher ground, but of course by the morning everything turned to rain and it had washed away. So we could be seeing a scenario like that, but there is cold air behind it. So if we did see this low shift slightly further southwards and take a slightly different track, we could be seeing more snow to more areas, not exclusively over high ground, but even to low-lying areas at times. It does move through and we go back into a colder air mass before we see the potential for another named storm. This low really spinning up out in the Atlantic. It does look like on the latest GFS it's going to be mainly a severe storm for Ireland. You can see it get down to about 960 millibars, extremely deep area of low pressure. As it heads towards the southwest of England, parts of Wales, it does weaken quite significantly. So it could be a scenario where the most severe winds are across Ireland and parts of southern Ireland, but we also see potentially yellow or even amber warnings once again through Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, and in the south as well. That low does eventually clear, and if we go back to the European outlook, you can see we actually do pull in a bit of an easterly wind for a period of time, but not massively cold. But you can see generally the upper air temperatures are chilly, even though it is a flat westerly, because the jet stream is shifted further southwards. You can see the alignment of that black line, which is generally on these pressure charts where the jet stream is placed. It's heading from northern Canada all the way down into parts of southern Spain. So that jet stream shifted a few hundred miles further southwards is allowing that colder air just to sink a little bit further southwards. So we're actually staying around average, if not a little bit colder than average, which is going to mean over high ground we could be seeing significant snowfalls at times, but there are going to be milder wedges in there. So it's not going to be cold all the time. There will be plenty of milder weather around as well. Beyond that, to the end of next week, we see another low pressure system whip up in the Atlantic. And again, if we have a look at the United Kingdom, look, very severe area of low pressure, 956 millibars in the centre of that low, heading straight through Scotland. Again, we could be seeing yellow, amber, and if it came off like this, would be surprised to see another red warning for that as it clears. And if we have a look back at the European outlook, you can see again staying quite westerly. Now, this is sort of beyond day 7, so it's uncertain with this low pressure system towards a week on Monday or a week on Sunday. But the one coming earlier, i.e. the middle of next week, Tuesday, Wednesday time, that is looking likely to be quite a severe low. Whether it's a named storm is still yet to be determined. We've seen more low pressure systems move through and generally things stay very unsettled all the way to the end of the run. Looking generally flip-flopping between mild and colder sectors, but still just looking really unsettled with a lot of rain and strong winds around. Now, if we have a look at the GEM, see how it does compare again, you can see that cold air sinking through the weekend and the potential for seeing a bit of snow through Sunday, especially in the east as we do wrap in a bit of an easterly wind. And then we see that low move through Monday. A bit bigger of a milder wedge, so that would mean more rain from the GEM. Again, as I said, these subtle changes in the exact air masses and positioning can make a big difference. Beyond that, we pull in a bit of a colder air mass before we see this low spin up quite severely on the GM and actually heads through sort of central England. And if we go to the United Kingdom, look, you can see again 956 millibars in there. And it weakens, but it does spread through England, bringing very heavy rain and once again very strong winds. Wouldn't be surprised to see amber warnings once again across Northern Ireland, Wales, and western parts of England and Scotland as well, before it does slowly diminish away. Now, looking back at the European outlook again, you can see westerly winds and just a continued chance of severe low pressure systems. You see another one a week on Sunday, similar to on the GFS, but shifted much further northwards, so maybe only being severe for the north of Scotland. So we'll have to keep an eye, as I said, on these tracks as they make a massive difference. And right towards the end of the run, still looking fairly westerly dominated and very stormy around as well, with a lot of storms potentially around as well. If we have a look at the ECMWF, again, you can see the colder conditions this weekend. And then we see that wedge of milder air move in. And if we have a look at the upper air temperatures, quite mild, once again, on the ECMWF, a bit milder than we're seeing on the GFS. So we'll have to keep an eye with that. And you can see that low really spinning up through Wednesday. Very severe storm potentially here. And we'll have to really keep an eye on it, as I do suspect if it does come off, even to what this ECMWF going, which is staying the centre offshore, I'd still suspect there will be warnings around for it. Beyond that, we stay generally westerly, more quite deep lows out of the Atlantic, and once again looking quite unsettled, not massively mild, but around average, with a lot of rain and wind around as well. Now, if we have a look at the UK Met Office run, see how this does compare over the next week. You can see again, colder air moving in this weekend with brief area of easterly winds. We do have that small area of high pressure towards Scandinavia. And then we see that wedge of milder air move in. You can see quite small on the UK Met Office run. And as we'll see with its precipitation charts at the end of the video, you'll see there is a bit of snow mixed in. We'll have to see how low that does go in terms of elevation. Beyond that, we see that really severe low pressure system spin up through early hours of Tuesday into Wednesday. Very severe low pressure system, around 954 millibars in the centre of that low. Really, really low. And it does, similar to the other runs, diminish in strength as it heads through Ireland into the Irish Sea and into parts of Wales and southwest England, but still will pack a punch even then. Back on the European outlook, again, you can see the southerly tracked jet stream with northwesterly winds and some generally cooler air mixed in with that, but nothing massively cold, just unsettled, windy, and around average to maybe just a touch below average with that shifted jet stream further southwards. Now, if we have a look at the GFS Ensembles, you can see well reflected at the moment what we're seeing on those operational runs. Mild at the moment, dropping cooler over the next couple of days, and staying pretty chilly, a couple of degrees below average. Not quite getting down to sort of -5, -6 degrees at 850 HPA, which would be cold enough for more snow to low-lying areas. So again, it's going to be very marginal if we do see any snow over the next few days. Beyond that, temperatures steep below average, around -2 at 850 HPA, before slowly rising towards the middle third of December to around or touch below average. For right at the end of the run, we're seeing some go above average. A lot of scatter, of course, but no runs going massively cold at this stage. But at the same time, none are going massively mild either. Most are staying around 4 to 6 degrees above freezing, sort of at max, maybe one going really mild. But the majority are not too dissimilar to the average from 1981 to 2010. So it's looking generally westerly, but pretty chilly over the next week to 10 days, with a lot of rain and wind around. Now, if we have a look at the sea level pressure, you can see that low moving through next Wednesday, getting down to about 990 millibars, or if not lower, in London. But remember, the deepest area of low pressure is going to be further west. So you can see the oscillating up and downs with the pressure charts, symbolic of zonal sine wave, where we're seeing low pressure, ridge of high pressure, low pressure, ridge of high pressure, with alternating air masses as well. Now, if we have a look at Glasgow, you can see pressure for that low pressure system next Wednesday, actually similar to London, around 989, 990 millibars, but we're seeing a lot of more up and downs here for Glasgow, and getting potentially quite deep for around 11th to 12th of December. That was what we were seeing on the GFS, GM, and the ECMWF, potentially for another one of those severe storms, very deep area of low pressure. You can see the operational run going very deep, down to 954 millibars, and a few runs following that below 980, which would be very severe. Again, it all depends on its track, as we saw with the operational runs. They were very different in their exact track, so we'll have to keep an eye really on what happens with that. But it does look like we're definitely going to be seeing some very unsettled weather, and potentially very, very stormy, and we could be seeing at least one, maybe two named storms. If we have a look at the 850 HPA temperature and precipitation, typical for a zonal pattern, where the temperature profile is actually pretty narrow in over the next sort of week to 10 days. Most ensemble members are about 2, 3, 4 degrees within each other, really staying around -5 to maybe a touch above. So potential for snow over the higher ground, or even in low-lying areas for a time over the next week, slowly rising to around -3, -4, and eventually above average right towards the end of the run, but pretty consistent all the way out to sort of the 13th, 14th of December, with the majority a degree or two below the average. So it does look like it will be a colder than average start, but not remarkably cold, so it doesn't look like there's going to be any widespread snowfall at this stage. Could be a few surprise events, could be a lot of snowfall over higher ground, but to low-lying areas, nothing definitive at this stage, but a lot of precipitation around, generally very strong winds and unsettled. Now, if we finish up having a look at the UK Met Office run, see what that shows over the next 5 days. You can see the rain heading in from the west at this stage, and you can see turning to a bit of snow through the early hours of tomorrow, especially over Scotland as cold weather does start to dig in. Could be even seeing some snow over parts of Yorkshire, the north of England as well, even to maybe low-lying areas for a time through Saturday afternoons. We have cold air moving in. Few showers pushing in from the northeast, from the northeast coast, potentially moving through the Midlands into central southern England. Could even be seeing a bit of snow there early hours of Sunday. Again, most likely falling and not settling significantly, but whatever chances we can get, we'll take, I guess. Then through Sunday, things look a bit drier. A few showers in the east before weather fronts gather in the west. And through the early hours of Monday, you could see that heavy snow over Scotland, parts of the northwest, Yorkshire, over higher ground, exclusively on this UK Met Office Operational Run, but could be falling to low levels for a time. Beyond that, we do see colder air dig in once again, and could be seeing more snow potentially over higher ground as well. A big mix and quite marginal there, of course. And then through Tuesday, when we see that potentially named storm move through, you can see a severe weather front with a squall line along it. So it could be some very heavy rain and strong winds with that. And you can see snow on its leading edge as well, before it eventually does move away with some very heavy showers in the south. Now, if we do have a look at the wind for that potential storm at this stage. You can see through the early hours of Tuesday, potentially 70, 80 mile per hour gusts, or even get up to maybe 90 or 100 mile per hour gusts across the southern coast of Ireland. For Northern Ireland, parts of Wales, southwest England, and parts of western Scotland as well. 70 to 80 mile per hour gusts, so not quite as significant as storm wind, but still could be amber warning territory. Beyond that, as those winds move in as well, could be seeing still 80 miles per hour across southern Ireland and parts of the southwest as well, before those winds slowly do clear to our south. Now, if we finally finish up, have a look at the max temperatures, you can see today was a pretty chilly day, around 6-7 degrees, but not really massively cold, as we do have some milder upper air conditions. Overnight tonight, around 4-5-6 degrees, but around freezing in the north. And by Saturday afternoon, we could be seeing temperatures around 4 or 5 degrees, so quite chilly and a bit colder further northwards. Overnight Saturday into Sunday, frost in the north, but as we have a few showers and some cloud in the south, only 2, 3, 4 degrees. Early hours of Sunday, we could be seeing frost here or there, maybe isolated frost in the south, but mainly in the north. And by Sunday afternoon, pretty chilly, 3, 4, 5 degrees, maybe 6 or 7 in a few spots, and really quite cold across Scotland as we have the colder air digging in there. Quite cold for the early hours on Monday again, maybe a widespread frost across Scotland and isolated frost across southern England. Before that weather front does move in. Still pretty chilly through Tuesday night, potentially another widespread frost. And then Tuesday afternoon, still sort of 3, 4, 5 degrees, maybe 7 or 8 on the far south coast before that low pressure system moves in. And you can see across northern Scotland, or northern England into Scotland, staying around freezing or just above freezing for the whole of Tuesday. So we could be seeing significant snowfall in a few spots where we have those weather fronts from that potential named storm bumping into the cold air. And through Wednesday, still reasonably chilly. So you can see, even though we're having very unsettled conditions, with the jet stream shifted a couple hundred miles further south, we're still going to be staying quite chilly on the colder side of the jet stream. Not cold enough for widespread snow, but definitely the chances over high ground and maybe to low-lying areas towards this weekend into early next week. So it could be some quite big disruption potentially next week with these named storms. So do make sure, with these potential named storms. So do make sure you stay tuned to my videos and the Met Office warnings as well. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.